It's time now for your weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southwest region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors Southwest.
Hi everyone, so happy you joined us for this week's show. If you were with us a few weeks ago, we did an entire episode talking about how to find and catch one of the easiest game fish that swims in fresh water across our south and southwest regions. It's the white bass, and it's a great fish to take kids or elderly folks fishing for. They're everywhere and they're easy to catch. On this week's show, we're going to go the exact opposite direction. We're going to talk about one of the most difficult and challenging game fish to catch in fresh water. It's the hybrid striped bass. Now, this is a cross between a traditional freshwater striped bass and a white bass, and they produce one of the hardest fighting fish in fresh water. But they can be very difficult to locate and can be very difficult to catch. We'll give you tips and pointers on just how to do that on this week's show. Now, in order to demonstrate that, we're going to bring you out to Cedar Creek Lake. It's a large reservoir located south and east of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex in Texas, and it's got a great population of hybrid striped bass. While we're out on Cedar Creek doing that, we're going to be taking you around the region for your very latest fishing reports from our team of insider reporters. Now, the techniques that we're going to show you today don't just apply here to Cedar Creek. They apply to your favorite lake that's got hybrid stripers in them as well. And we're going to be telling you about some of those lakes and where they're located across the southwest. It's going to be a lot of fun. Right now, let's get this started back at the FSN Studios. Here's your weekend plan.
The Salooner tables are looking positive for weekend game fish activity. Saturday is listed as excellent, while Sunday is predicted to have good conditions. Expect the best daylight action to begin on Saturday at 11:33 a.m. and Sunday at 12:46 in the afternoon. The sun will rise at 6:22 and set at 8:39. And we had a new moon this week, so evenings will not have much moonlight. Stay with us, we have all of your fishing updates from around the Southwest on the way. Plus, I'll return with Bassmaster Elite Angler Tommy Biffle to answer your Whataburger Ask the Pro question.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Costa Sunglasses. See what's out there. By Luz, setting a new standard in fishing performance. Feel the difference. By Strike King Lures, #1 in fishing. And by Lowrance Electronics. Find, navigate, dominate.
Got him, just like that. All right, this is out in a spot where it should be a hybrid. All right, well, welcome back everybody. Fox Sports Outdoors today. Talking about how to catch one of the wiliest species of freshwater fish, the hybrid striped bass. Yeah, all right. That's a good way to get it started right there. That, my friends, is a hybrid striped bass. You can tell them, of course, by the size. You can tell them by the broken lines down their sides. Stripers will have straight lines down their sides. Small mouth, little patches of teeth on the tongue. That's the way you tell a hybrid striper. Well, we're not keeping them today, so we'll let that fish go back. Thanks for the fight. Let me explain the very first thing to you about why hybrid stripers are so challenging to catch. #1, they're hard to find. We are right in the absolute middle of nowhere land. Acres and acres and miles of wide open water. Hybrid stripers are nomadic fish. You can be on a school of them 1 second and they can be half a mile down the lake 3 minutes later. They're an amazing fish. That's why they're so challenging, because you're gonna find them out here in the middle of open water. Now, you're gonna need good electronics, good sonar, good GPS, in my case, good structure scan gear, and you've got to be able to get good with your bearings out in open water, because that's where they roam. All right, we're gonna tell you more about hybrid striped bass. Let's get you started with some fishing and lake reports. Let's go to Cajun Phil and Kevin in Louisiana.
Hey friends, Captain Kevin Broussard here with your Fox Sports Louisiana Outdoor Saltwater Report. I tell you what, we're starting to get into the summertime pattern now, and the fish are biting. Today out on Calcasieu Lake, we threw live shrimp under popping corks, caught a lot of trout, caught a few nice redfish. I tell you what, the wind's laid down, the water's getting pretty. The whole Louisiana coast is actually turning on for fishing. I tell you what, friends, here at Cajun Paradise Lodge and Charters on Calcasieu Lake, fishing's turning on. It's going to be a great summer and a great fall. Y'all want to make a trip, the number's on the screen. Right now, we're going to turn it over to Cajun Phil for a little bit of freshwater action.
Thanks, Captain Kevin. I tell you what, friends, as he said, the speckled trout and the redfish, they're moving into their summertime patterns. That's crazy because I talked to Joe Jocelyn, who's been guiding on Toledo Bend for as many years as I can remember. Joe said the exact same thing. Joe said the bass on Toledo Bend are also moving into their summertime pattern. He says right now, the last few weeks, they seem to be in from 12 to 25 foot of water. Now what Joe's been doing is he's been fishing the points. Again, main lake points, not secondary, not third-tier points, but the main lake points. He's fishing deep. He says, Cage, what most people are doing, they're getting the boats at 20, 25 foot off the bank, and then they're throwing up and working it down. He says, I get the same distance, 20, 25 foot off the point. He said, I turn around and I throw into the deeper water. I'm throwing it 25 to 30 foot, and I'm working it up the ridge. And I tell you what, use a 3/4 ounce weight, drag it real slow up that slope, you too will catch more bass.
There's one. Whoa, that's a freight train. That feels like a small hybrid. Not as big as the first one we caught, but that one's actually a little fatter. That big boy. Welcome back, everybody. We're out talking about how to find and catch hybrid stripers. There, got him loose. There we go. Classic hybrid right there. Just a good, chunky, stocky fish right there. Boy, they will fight. You saw how that thing cut up on top. Away he goes. One of the keys you need to find is something that comes up off the bottom. Hybrid stripers are suckers for underwater humps, ridges, islands, and points. Those are the classic spots where you're going to catch these hybrids. In fact, I marked a waypoint on the spot where we caught that first hybrid a few minutes ago, really good quality hybrid. I want to show you what that looks like on a chart. Why do you want to look for these spots? They use those. They're out chasing bait in open water. It's hard to catch that bait just swimming around here and there trying to catch a shad. But if they can herd the shad up against something, the hybrid has the advantage. So they'll use the slope of those humps and ridges to push the shad up against and then work them up the side of it, and that's how they feed. They're always feeding up the sides of slopes of these humps and ridges. Those are the places you want to look in your local lake to find hybrid stripers. Coming up in just a second, I'm going to tell you a few of the lakes across the south and southwest regions that are really good hybrid lakes. Right now though, let's get used to some more fishing reports from your local area. Let's go to Oklahoma with Gary Dollahan.
Hey, it doesn't take a whole lot of imagination to figure out how they came up with the name Bell Cow Creek for this body of water, but I made my first trip to this 1,100-acre lake this past week. Now, it's located east of Oklahoma City, near the city of Chandler, and I've heard about this lake for a long time, but knew absolutely nothing about it until I got there. Fortunately, when I did, I ran into Park Ranger Randy Hughley at the boat ramp. He gave me some insight.
Bell Cow's a real good lake for doing the bass fishing and crappie also. We've been fortunate since the lake was built and started impounding water in '93 that the state has helped stock it and manage it. And that's why we only have one bass over 22 inches is allowed daily per person. When the crappie are running real well, they catch 2 pound crappie enough, a lot. And the catfish are real good because there's a lot of road beds and stuff, and the sandy points that come in certain areas.
Now, I got here with full intentions to bass fish, but the ramp I put in had standing timber close by, so I picked up the crappie rod instead, went right to it, started catching crappie about 8-9 feet deep in 12 foot of water on the big timber. Now, the water's got some color to it, but the visibility is not too bad. It's kind of like a tea color, but I could see 10 to 12 inches deep. The fish were hitting a minnow minder in lights out color. Now, the water temperature is about 78 degrees. Randy said the lake is about 2 feet low. It's come up more than a foot in the past several weeks, so the water's in really good condition. It's got willow grass along the banks, it's got lots of coves, it has rocky points, and there's tons of fishable shoreline. I'm coming back to bass fish Bell Cow Creek. I hope to see you on it, but one thing about it, you can't catch me if you don't go.
There's one hitting my Strike King crankbait. I think it's either a small hybrid or a good sized white. It's a white, just like I thought. When you're catching white bass, you've always got a chance to catch a hybrid. Why? Because they're feeding on the exact same thing. They're all feeding on these threadfin shad that are just about the size of that Strike King 6XD crankbait. I'll give you a little better look at some of them at the end. And I want to talk to you about a horizontal presentation. You don't want to be jigging for these fish. I'll explain why coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Exide AGM Marine Batteries. Starts like new, stays like new longer. By Gene LaRue and Bobby Garland Lures. With our baits, a good day of fishing is in the bag. By Motor Guide, trolling motors engineered for anglers. By Nitro Performance Fishing Boats. Welcome to the big leagues. By Fort Worth Nissan. Fox Sports Outdoors is powered by Fort Worth Nissan. And by Whataburger. Get your day started at Whataburger with the new jalapeno cheddar biscuit.
Push the button, let it go back all the way to the bottom. Take up the slack. He's got it. Just like that. Hey everybody, we're on Fox Sports Outdoors today, showing you how to catch hybrid striped bass. Boy, look at him fight. They are some big time fighters, boy. You have to be really careful with these fish. Boy, they will hurt you. I'm telling you, they'll get a hook in your hand. There we go. And that's one more good hybrid for you. And that gets us to our next major point about hybrid stripers. Now, if you've watched our show at all over the last few years, then you already know what I'm about to tell you. Let's let this fish go back. Hybrid stripers will always feed on a horizontal presentation. So you want to be casting and pulling a bait back in. You want to make long casts with several different baits. I'll show them to you at the end of the show. And you want to crank them across the fish. Why is that? White bass will hug the bottom. In fact, a lot of times they'll be so tight to the bottom you can't even see them on your sonar. Hybrid stripers typically won't do that. They're up, chasing bait, suspended somewhere between the floor of the lake and the surface. So that's why you want to be pulling either a swim bait, a spoon, that big Strike King 6XD crankbait, diving down 12, 14 feet deep, something that you can pull down through the fish, suspended between the top and the bottom. Don't bump the bottom if you want to catch a hybrid striper. Not a vertical presentation, a horizontal one. That's a big, big key all across the country. It's a characteristic of these fish. Hey, let's get you some more fishing reports. If you live in Texas, here's your freshwater report with Brian Hughes. That'll be followed up by Bill Olson. He's on the coast.
Hi folks, on this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by Backlash Offshore, your source for guided offshore fishing in Texas. We're at Lake Ray Hubbard, where the water level is pretty good. You can use about half the ramps around the lake right now, and the sand bass and hybrid action is fantastic on offshore structure using your spoons and slabs. Now, Cooper Lake is a success story. Last September, guides were leaving the lake. You couldn't launch a boat. Now, with the spring rains, water levels are back up, the guides are back, the anglers are back, and more importantly, the fish are back. You can catch the hybrids up shallow, starting with top waters early, and then swim baits in shallow water later in the day. And finally, Lake Tawakoni, also what I call a medium lake. That is, they're 7 or 8 feet low, but you can still launch at most of the ramps. You have to be very careful as you boat around the lake. But you can catch the hybrids there on deep diving cranks and swim baits on a lead jig head. That's this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by Backlash Offshore Fishing. Now let's check in with Mr. Bill Olson. You'll find him on the coast.
Hi folks, Texas Outdoors Journal brings you this week's report and has once again been named the best major outdoor magazine in Texas. If you fish and hunt in Texas, you should be reading Texas Outdoors Journal. We'll tell you where to go, what to expect once you get there, and how to do it a little bit better. Pick up a copy of Texas Outdoors Journal on newsstands or subscribe at the website on the screen. Well, if what has been reported the past few months is correct, and if fishing really has been running about a month behind schedule, then one would have to assume conditions are about to stabilize as June ends and gives way to July. Typically, that would mean hot weather and some good trout in the surf and around deeper reefs, channels, and grass beds. Looking at the weather along the Texas coast, with the Gulf waters being cooler than normal, forecasts say we can look for air temperatures to be really moderate and running 7 to 10 degrees cooler than normal. All of us will take that. On the lower and middle coast, an early and late topwater bite will continue, but quickly give way to fish moving to deeper holes, channels, and grass beds. Soft plastics, croaker, or shrimp will catch fish at deeper depths. Now, on light wind days, anglers out of Port Aransas and Port O'Connor have caught fish in the surf. Once trout have been caught, some kingfish have been caught on trout tackle. Just tie on a titanium leader. The Surfside jetties, backside of San Luis Pass, and Galveston or Sabine jetties are giving up some good specs. The short rigs out of Sabine has trout, redfish, and the occasional ling. If fishing shell is your thing, then try the well pads in Trinity Bay and Bolivar. The shell reefs either side of the Houston Ship Channel off San Leon, East Matagorda's Mid-Bay Reefs, and San Antonio Bay Reefs all are holding solid fish. This weekend, Saturday has a double tide schedule of 2 high and 2 low tides. This Sunday is a 3 tide day with 2 high tides and just 1 low. I'm Bill Olson, and I'll see you on the coast.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day. By Mercury Marine, celebrating 75 years of marine excellence. By Strin Fishing Lines, the standard of dependability. And by Tracker Boats. It's more than just a boat, it's a tracker.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time now for our Whataburger Ask the Pro question, your chance for advice from professional anglers. This week, Kelly asks, how do you use the different sizes of biffle bugs? For the answer, we checked with the man who helped design the lure, Bassmaster Elite Angler Tommy Biffle.
On the biffle bug now, we have 3 different sizes. And, starting out with the junior, I use that more for drop shotting. I like to pull the legs off of it, nose hook it, and it really catches those big smallmouth up north good. A lot of people like to throw it around the house or at home and just catch fish that's pressured. It's a smaller profile bait, so they like it a little bit better in high pressured lakes. The normal size bug is a 4.25. Use it all the time. I catch a lot of fish on it, catch a lot of big fish. It's also excellent up north on the hardhead. And now we have hardheads all the way from 3/16 all the way to 1 ounce. So we have one for about every depth range. And then this year we come out with the big bug, which is a 5-inch big bug, and it's just for big bass. But the only thing, those little ones still bite it.
Thanks, Tommy. If you have a question to ask one of the pros, go to our website, follow the Ask the Pro link, and send us your information. Now let's find out which big fish photo wins someone a brand new pair of Costa sunglasses on the Costa Catch of the Week.
We have a winner this week in the Costa Catch of the Week contest. He is Thomas Roberts of Joshua, Texas. The photo is a 9-pound, 1-ounce largemouth bass he caught at Joe Pool Lake in Texas. And here's some bonus photos for you. Brian Ball is showing a 7-pound largemouth bass, and Eric Stapleton is showing a 7-pound, 2-ounce bass, also from Joe Pool. These aren't winners in the contest, but they're great fish nonetheless. Thomas wins his choice of any pair of Costa sunglasses, and if you would like to have a great chance to win, all you have to do is go to our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. On the right-hand side of the front page, click in the Costa Catch of the Week area. You can see all of the Costa frame and lens styles at their website. You get there by going back to the front page of our website and clicking on the Costa logo. You can see all of their great products, including the frame style that I was wearing on this week's episode called Caballito. Next up on the Academy Sports and Outdoors Right Stuff feature, I'd like for you to pay special attention to some highly specialized gear you're going to need if you're going to not only hook these hybrid stripers, if you're going to have a chance to land them as well. First up on the left-hand side of your screen, it's a heavy lead jig head, about 3/4 of an ounce, with a Jean LaRue Sweet Swimmer on the back, a great swim bait for these hybrids. Then in the middle is a big 5-inch heavy spoon. Now don't be messing around with any little trout spoons. You got to get the big, heavy 5-inch long spoon for these big hybrids. And then finally, my secret bait on the right there is the Strike King 6XD deep diving crankbait that will kill them when they're suspended up off the bottom. You also need a highly specialized rod and reel setup to catch these hybrids as well. It begins with the brand new Lew's BB1 Pro bait cast reel. It's beefed up with a bunch of heavy components. The wide spool holds lots of line. You're gonna need that for these long casts and when these big hybrids make a run, and it will make super long casts, and that's a real advantage in this style of fishing. I've got it on a Lew's American Hero 7.5-foot medium heavy action rod. Again, you need a beefy rod for these hybrids, and by the way, Lew's will make a donation and help some of our wounded warriors go fishing with every rod purchased. Then I've got it spooled up with Stren 20-pound test original line. Nothing less than 20-pound line will do, and the Stren original holds up great in this application. And another piece of gear that's really important is a good landing net. These hybrids can hurt you, they can cut you, and they can get a hook in your hand. They're very strong beasts once you get them in the boat. You need a landing net to keep them under control. The other day I heard someone say that if you tell a lie once, you'll have to tell that lie for the rest of your life. I'm really concerned that in our culture, lying has become so normal, so predominant, and so common that it's almost like telling the truth. In fact, you could almost say that lying has become the new truth. Well, I want to be one voice that says lying is still wrong. Think about that the next time you're on the receiving end of a lie. Lying always hurts someone. And that's this week's Stuff That Matters. I promised earlier in the show that I would give you some really good hybrid striper lakes across the southwest portions of our region. Probably the single best hybrid striper state is South Carolina. They've got Hartwell and Santee Cooper and many other great hybrid lakes. Georgia's got Lanier and several others. Oklahoma has got Skiatook, Kanawha, and Sooner. And Texas has got Richland Chambers, Buchanan, Cooper, right here at Cedar Creek. I hope you are paying attention to, and I hope you learned some of the principles that we talked about here on Cedar Creek in Texas, because those same techniques will work at your favorite hybrid striper fishery. Hey, don't forget to join us for next week's show. We'll be on Thursday night at 10:30 with the repeat airing Saturday morning at 7:30. And if those times ever change, you'll be the first to know right on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. From Cedar Creek Lake in Texas, until next week, I'm Barry Stokes saying be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.